Hello buddy, and welcome to the first video in a series of where I'll go over Pinball arcade goals, both standard and wizard. Now before I get into the Tales of Arabian Nights standard goals, I have been playing the Pinball arcade since it was originally released, first on Android devices, PS3, PS4, and now I'm kind of moving over to the Steam, which honestly I should have moved over to a long time ago. Since I want to do these goals again, and I'm pretty much starting with a clean slate, I figured now would be a good time to pretty much document these goals and how I went about doing them. Now, as for Tales of the Arabian Nights itself, the standard goals are actually pretty easy. There's only one goal that may cause a bit of an issue, but almost anybody could get that goal after, some amount of time. But without further ado, let's actually get started. Standard goal number 1 in Tales of the Arabian Nights is to complete a super skill shot. Now this goal is actually pretty easy to get, but you have to pay attention to what you're doing. When the game starts, the Pinball arcade will actually zoom in on the 3 holes, or baskets, that the ball can be launched into when you plunge the ball. For every time you launch the ball, it could be any one of those 3 baskets. You have to pay attention to the dot matrix display, and it'll show with a visual cue of which basket contains the snake. For example, the snake is in the first basket, you have to plunge lightly to hit the first basket. Whereas if it's the last basket, you have to plunge harder, so you'll hit the last basket. Now, if you hit the proper basket, you'll see an animation showing that you've gotten the skill shot, whereas if you miss, it'll show that you missed the skill shot and snake biting somebody's foot. But when you get that skill shot, that's only the first part. The ball will roll down to the right flipper, and at that point you'll have to, on your very next shot, hit the ramp. And if you hit the ramp, you will complete the super skill shot.
Baghdad, a most beautiful princess.
I am your genie. Rub the lamp. Amazing.
The second standard goal for Tales of the Arabian Nights is to collect the jackpot during GENIE multi-ball. Now this is actually fairly easy to do once you get multi-ball started. In case you didn't know, to start multi-ball, you have to lock 3 balls. Well, how do you lock 3 balls? Well, there's actually 2 ways to lock the first ball. The first way is to hit the GENIE 5 times, and as you can see, there's lights that light up the words GENIE. Once GENIE is lit, the locks become available. But you could get around from hitting the GENIE 5 times just by getting the secret ball lock, which is actually easier said than done. There's a secret ball lock that goes, if you hit the ball in such a manner that it goes up the top, and instead of looping all the way around, will fall into the secret ball lock, as it's called. If you hit the secret ball lock, the remaining locks will light the same as if you spelled out GENIE. To lock the ball after the locks are lit, you can either hit the left loop, the right loop, or the center lock lane, which is actually squeezed in between the bazaar and the magic lamp. So once you have one ball locked, you have to lock another ball. Even if you got the secret lock, you still have to lock a second ball by hitting either the left loop, the right loop, or the center lane. Once you get 2 balls locked, you can start multi-ball by simply hitting the GENIE, and things will go crazy. The ball gets sucked under the table, if it works correctly. There's been instances where it hasn't worked correctly and I've had to hit that again. And then multi-ball will start, and to collect the jackpot during the multi-ball, all you have to do is hit the GENIE, which is actually very easy to do with 3-ball multi-ball.
Crush the genies for jackpot. Unleash the lamp.
The third standard table goal is to score a Fireball award. And this is actually pretty simple, and you're almost definitely going to get this whether or not you try for it or not. But basically, to start out with, you have to light the Fireball. Now, there are methods for increasing the score of the Fireball award, And after you do it the first time, there's additional steps you may have to take to light it again. But since this video is just about getting the goal the first time, all you really have to do is either shoot the ramp or the saucer in front of the captive balls. Now once you've done that, fireball will light, and then after that all you have to do is hit the ramp and it'll get diverted into this little circular thing, and the genie will, you know, scream, and then he'll act like he's throwing the fireball at you. It'll run down the rails towards the right flipper. Then all you have to do is hit the genie. This is time-based, but you get a rather lengty amount of time to hit the genie before you run out of time, so it really shouldn't be a problem.
Go for the gold symbol. Great shot. Hurl the fireball back. Challenge the genie. That was wicked.
Standard goal number 4 is to capture a ball with a shooting star. Now this is something that always happens in my game, whether or not I try to do it or not. In fact, I never really knew how to do it until I specifically looked it up, because it just always seems to happen. But there are 6 spot targets on the playfield, and unless you looked for them, you'd probably never even notice. There are 3 on the left side of the playfield, and there are another 3 that are pretty near the genie, and those correspond to the right side of the table. Now, if you light all 3 of them on either side, say you light all 3 on the left side, that activates the shooting star on the left side of the table. And if you shoot all 3 on the right side, it activates the shooting star on the right side of the table. Now, this is a limited timed event, but basically when you light it, you have it, what I've read is like 10 seconds. Once those 3 are lit, say for example you've lit the 3 on the left side, for about 10 seconds, if the ball goes near the left out lane, the shooting stars will shoot up from underneath the table and rescue the ball in case it's going to drain in the left out lane. And the same thing for the right out lane. So all that needs to happen is that the ball gets captured by the shooting stars and you'll get the goal.
The Tale of the 40 Thieves.
Lie on your magic carpet. Amazing.
And the last standard goal for Tales of the Arabian Nights is to activate Harem Multi-Ball. And this is actually the most difficult out of all the standard goals for Tales of the Arabian Nights, because the other 4 will always just seem to happen, whether or not you go for them or not. But this activate Harem Multi-Ball, I always find I have to attempt it again and again and again before I actually attain this goal. What you have to do actually sounds easy, but it's kind of not. If you look over by the left loop, you'll notice there are 3 lights there. There's a lock light, a harem light, and a tiger light. Now usually by default the harem light is lit, and when the harem light is lit, you basically hit the left loop and you'll get a letter in the word harem. Now if you hit the ball at just the right momentum, you'll actually hit the harem sneak-in behind the genie. But that doesn't happen too often. But if you can hit the harem sneak-in behind the genie, you can activate Harem Multi-Ball with only 3 shots as opposed to 5 to spell out the word harem. Now what complicates things is if the harem light isn't lit, you won't get the letter and you can't activate the harem sneak-in if you hit the ball at just the right moment. So like I said, normally the harem light is lit. However, as soon as you hit that loop or you do other things potentially, the tiger light will light instead. So when any other light is lit there, it won't count towards spelling harem. If the tiger's light is lit, usually you could just hold on to the ball and wait for the tiger light to run out, and then the harem light will come back up again. If for some reason the tiger light doesn't go out, you have to shoot the ball because it's a time thing, and if it didn't hit anything else, the tiger light will never go out unless it hits something else. So usually if the tiger light is lit, you let that run out and harem will light again, and then you can make another attempt at that shot. However, if lock is lit, you cannot make another harem shot until you get multi-ball, because that's the only way to make the lock light disappear. And even if you're on the 3rd lock, the lock light doesn't necessarily light, but still a harem multi-ball won't reactivate until after you get the multi-ball. So it's kind of a waiting game, and for me that is kind of a tough shot to make. I don't always make that shot. I think I'm about 50-50 on that shot to begin with. So it's it's very difficult for me to actually spell out harem. But once you do spell out harem, harem multi-ball activates right away, so there's nothing else you really need to do. It's a 2-ball multi-ball mode. And for me, once I do this goal, I tend to almost never get harem multi-ball activated again. So yeah, that's it. And see you next time.
Boys will be boys.